What's up, everybody? I'm Katie.
And I'm Morgan.
And this is For Your Misinformation, a podcast dedicated to empowering women to be more politically engaged so we can act in our own best interests.
Let us break down the problem and tell you what we're doing and what you can do to help solve it.
Hi, Morgan.
Hi, Katie.
How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm great, too. I haven't talked to you in so long. It's good to talk to you.
It has been so long.
Mm-hmm.
How does this happen?
Well, you went on a little vacation, right?
I did go on a little vacation, got away for a few days, did some hiking in Colorado. It was gorgeous. I was able to avoid people and stay away from them, or everyone was putting on masks when we did have to be near each other. It was wonderful.
Good job, everybody.
Outside time in the fall is what every single one of us needs. So, but that is nothing compared to your big news.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Tell him.
I got engaged. Yeah. Thank you. The day after Nick and I recorded our interview about QAnon and Satanic Panic, I went on a paddle boat ride with my mom and my stepdad, who are my my quarantine pod. So I had just in general a really nice day. And then when we got back, Clark was in the backyard and I was totally surprised, had no idea. But he was wearing a blazer, so he was much more dressed up than he usually is. So I was like, oh, we're getting engaged. So this kid, there's no way he's putting on a blazer just for fun. All right, let's go. And he asked if I wanted my mom and stepdad to hear, and I said yeah. So he gave a little speech in front of them that was very sweet and funny, and asked me to marry him. And he also brought donuts and new plant for me, so he has clearly figured out the direct route to my heart. Yeah, and I'm excited to marry him.
He did great. He did great on the proposal. He did great on the ring.
Thank you. In full disclosure, I picked out the ring a year ago. He's had it since December, but a pandemic hit and life happens. So yeah, we're happy.
Life is just weird, but this is very exciting.
Thank you. So I've always said I'll get my vaccine when Angela Merkel gets her vaccine. So if we have a wedding, it'll be after that. And if we decide we don't feel like waiting that long, we'll probably just go to a courthouse and do whatever. So I don't know, but don't worry. You guys don't have to ask. Nobody has to ask. There's no plans. We don't know. There's just the entire future is up in the air. So that's all, I guess.
Yeah. We can always introduce a new segment called Wedding Corner. And we'll just talk about it.
I'll just complain about what it's trying to plan a wedding at the middle end of a pandemic in a failed state.
Yeah.
Sounds
there we go.
Relatable.
Uplifting. The uplifting content everybody's looking for.
Yes. So today's episode is going to be a little bit weird. I was pretty sick while Morgan was on vacation, and I just whenever I'm sick, I can't think about depressing stuff, or else I'm I can't go on. I can't. So I didn't write an episode this week. I couldn't think about any of America's systemic problems that make me want to die. So instead, I figured I would talk to Deva, who is the wife of Dotan, who I gave my kidney to just about a year ago. So we talked about what that process was like. So I don't know. I guess we talk a lot about making a difference on a big, large systemic level. This is a teeny tiny level. I figured everybody could kind of use a happy story, and that's a happy story. And it's the thing that I think of when I try to cheer myself back up, because I think it's probably the thing I'm most proud of myself for. So I thought maybe you guys would enjoy it too. So Morgan and I will start off we'll talk about our activism for the week as the election approaches. If you're listening to this on the day it comes out, the election is in 22 days, or the election is going on now, I guess I should say.
Yes.
The election ends in 22 days or 3 weeks, however you'd prefer to think about it.
And go vote right now. Bring 3 other people to go vote right now.
Yes.
Or send in your ballot if you can do that.
Yes, especially if you live or know somebody in a swing state, just text them. Like, just there's no. I texted a girl who is in college now at University of Wisconsin Stevens Point, who I used to coach when she was in 8th grade. Adorable. Oh. And I said, "Hey Grace, like, how's everything going? Do you have it? Like, are you registered to vote? Do you get to vote in Wisconsin? Whatever." Yes, she everything was good, except she'd gotten like a notice from the Stevens Point clerk that she needed, like, there was an issue with her ballot, like her voter registration wasn't confirmed. And I was like, I'm on it. Like, when I was 20, I don't think I would have called somebody to figure this shit out. So I'm just saying, like, we got to the bottom of it. She has to bring her driver's license into the county Stevens Point clerk just to like prove her or she has to provide proof of address. Sorry, she doesn't have a Wisconsin driver's license. That's the problem. She has to bring proof of address, and it's going to be fine. But, like, what if I didn't do that? Wisconsin, it was Michigan that lost by two votes per precinct. Michigan lost by 2 votes per precinct in 2016. Wow. So text your friends in swing states. It can't hurt.
Yeah. Exactly. I have texted so many people, and I am happy to report that most of them are like, "Yep, already got my mail-in ballot." And I'm like, "Great, get that sent in. I'll be in touch in a week, making sure that you did."
Great, checking this off on my spreadsheet. That's funny. So yeah, and then next week, get ready for our Illinois and California ballot recommendations. And if you want to give yours too, Morgan, you can totally give yours too. There's just a lot of propositions on the ballot in California, so I wanted to make sure that we like went over all of those. So Delaney Fisher will be the guest, and it'll be very fun and funny. Yeah.
Delaney's okay. Wonderful.
Yes, I'm very excited. Okay. The kind of downer thing that we want to talk about, not so much downer as in like something that we read, the Atlantic article that we read about like over dispersion. I think we both feel like we learned a lot. So there was an article in the Atlantic about the pandemic that did a really like stellar job of explaining like why it's so unpredictable, like why South Korea had a huge outbreak in the beginning and then seemed to like really nail it and get it totally under control. It's because, and like I think what everybody focused on in the beginning was R naught, which is the average people that you give it to if you have it, like how many. So it's the R naught of this disease is like 2 to 3. But really, like, that's a dumb way of thinking about it. And the Atlantic article does such a good job of explaining it. But, like, that's like if you're in a restaurant, you're in a Chili's, whatever, and, like, the average income in that Chili's is maybe, like, $50,000 a year or whatever. But if Jeff Bezos walks in, like, the average income skyrockets, and that is no longer a useful variable to be tracking. It's much more useful to track K in this sense, which is kind of hard to explain, but it basically tracks whether each person gives it to a couple other people. But in this case, in this disease, most, like what they said is 20% of people infect 80% of cases. So that means that like it spreads in big bursts. That's what overdispersion is that it spreads in big bursts. Like there was a woman in South Korea at a mega church who was and they were singing, chanting, whatever. It's airborne, so it, you know, you guys know, it's like perfume in the air. Like she infected 5,000 people. So like comparing her to somebody else, like it's actually not that useful. So, but yeah, it also explains why it's so unpredictable because of like what's going to happen in a given country because super spreader events impact it so much. So like that's why Lombardy in Italy was so heavily hit. They had like a super spreader event that just like totally changes the entire trajectory. So on the one hand, that's scary because like things could change so quickly. But on the other hand, it's like, oh yeah, well, I'm not going to super spreader events and I don't think I'm interacting with anybody who's going to super spreader events. So it made me feel a little safer. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I think there's just so many good analogies for this. Like the Jeff Bezos walks into a bar analogy or like the forest through the trees analogy, yes. Right? Like we're not going to go check every single tree in the forest to try to discover whether or not there's a forest fire. We're going to find the clusters of the trees that are on fire.
Yes.
And, those are the fires, like, that's what we want to put out. That's what's going to be really important here.
Yes.
And then, like that one tree that is on fire, obviously you don't want that to then light a whole other cluster of trees on fire. Right. So, it's a great quote from that article is that it's not always the restrictiveness of the rules, but whether they target the right dangers.
Yeah.
So it's not how restrictive the rules are in terms of social distancing or closing business and those kinds of things, but it's if they're targeting the right dangers, which is why, when in-person churches and indoor sporting events and those kinds of things are canceled, it's not to be restrictive or crush your freedoms or whatnot. It's because we know that there is a real danger of things like mega churches where 5,000 people can get infected. It's not saying that you can't worship. It's not saying you can't practice your faith or your religion. It's just saying like, hey, let's maybe keep our groups small or spaced out or not sing and chant, right? They still have big sporting events in Japan right now. People are packing into stadiums,
but they can't chant.
But they can't chant. They can't yell.
They're give up chanting.
Screaming inside their hearts.
Just like we are.
But... yeah, just like the rest of us, right? We can all relate to this. So it's just one of those important things to keep in mind when you're talking about you can't go visit your elderly relatives because they're going to be they're so depressed and whatnot. Like, it's not saying that you can't go visit your elderly relatives. It's saying, like, let's be careful and be smart about this and making sure that we're seeing the right dangers, and not getting caught up in the restrictiveness of things. Right. And
but also the other main takeaway I think is just that our testing strategy is completely totally backwards. Like, it's totally useless to do it the way we're doing it. What we're doing is like finding a person who tests positive and then going out and finding all of the people that they've interacted with. That's it. When a virus is over dispersed like this, it's so much more useful to do population level testing to figure out where the fire is, where all the virus is. It's why you could test like water to see, because it's in feces. So you could see if there's like a dorm or something like that, where there's a big population of people, you could find this cluster and get it under control before it spread. But
contact tracing shouldn't be about identifying one individual who's tested positive and then figuring out everywhere that they go.
Where did they get it?
Finding out where they got it. And, that's population. That's what we mean by population health.
Yeah. Because chances are that person infected a lot of other people too, and you have to go find them. Like, that's more important. And more efficient. It's just when this is the type of virus that you have, that's the type of tracing that you should do. And we have no national testing strategy. Just a reminder. We're living in a transnational crime syndicate masquerading as a government. Other countries have returned to normal. New Zealand is going to concerts and shit. We're a shit show, and we have to get our shit together. Please help us. Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about that Atlantic article?
We'll make sure that we share it. Obviously, this was just like a major summary. Hopefully, we did at least a little bit of justice to it. It's such a great example of statistics and public health being explained in a way that anyone can understand, which, as public health people, we absolutely love. But I did not love biostats. That's not the stuff I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So this article did a great job.
Yeah. Okay, I have to tell you something that happened to me. It's my college coach's 25th year, and this weekend would have been our homecoming meet, which is always fun. I have swam in it, and I have also dove in it. And the very sweet diving coach awarded me like an extra half a point so that I could win, which was like so a joke. But anyway, not a diver. But Lindsay does an excellent job of being very patiently teaching me how to dive. Okay, so as like a congratulations, whatever. Some of the alumni were filming videos for her that we're going to get put together to show to her, I think today. I think the meet is today. So I put on jeans to film this video for the first time since the pandemic hit. So I got my jeans box out from under my bed and I put on like the dark wash ones that I could find. And I was like, bleh. And then I was like, wait a minute. And I had accidentally put on low-rise jeans. It was awful.
Why do you own low-rise jeans? That's the question.
They're nice. They're like Page or like Citizens of Humanity or something like that. Like they're nice. But that's, you know what? I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. So yeah. And then I was like, hold on. I have a suspicion. Like, I don't think my body's changed this much. Like, I have a suspicion that these are not right. And then I found my high-rise jeans and I was like, oh, no, I'm still nailing this. Okay, great. So, but just cautionary for everybody, just put your low-rise jeans somewhere, put them up high out of reach or get rid of them. You don't need them. I don't want anybody else to accidentally put on low-rise jeans and go through like the trauma that I had to go through yesterday.
Yeah. If you are over the age of 25, chances are you've served your time in terms of low-rise jeans. And you can let Gen Z have that.
All right. That sounds fair.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Should we get to activism?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So the big send, which is the vote forward letters that are being sent, that is on October 17th. So just a couple days after this comes out. So we are finishing that up with my Indivisible group. I think I told you that we had a goal of writing 5,000 letters, and as a group, we've already written more than like 6,500. So,
woohoo!
Yeah, we hit our goal.
Okay.
And then we were talking about like how we could transition our Monday night meetings to something useful now that the big send is over. And Nick actually is free every Monday between now and the election. So we're just going to keep those meetings going and turn them into phone banking instead. So, and actually any of you are invited also. So I will, I probably won't put it in this episode's notes, but the next one. But I would love if you guys would join us, and Nick I'm sure would love to talk to you guys also. Anybody's welcome. And then you guys know how I like to think about stuff. On Tuesdays, I phone bank for Marie Newman. This past Tuesday that I was doing it, an Australian guy was also phone banking for Marie Newman. And I was like, here for it. And also, I was really jealous. I feel like if I answered the phone and there was like a really chill Australian guy on the other end, I'd be more likely to talk to him I'd be like, yeah, we can keep talking. Like, you just keep talking, you know? I'm just jealous.
Yeah, I totally get that though. Maybe we should try some great accents or like do like a Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek impression next time we phone bank.
Yes.
I'm here
Let's
for it.
practice.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'll continue to do that on every Tuesday. And then on Thursdays, I've been phone banking for Sarah Gideon with Planned Parenthood votes in Maine. Just official, my official take on this race is fuck you, Susan Collins, and Brett Kavanaugh is a predator. And then, okay, last, I have one story about this phone banking, and then I want to hear about your activism, but it was really funny. I basically had like a reverse prank call. So and actually the other thing, they started using an auto dialer, which totally removes the anxiety for me of like pressing send. Like the computer is connecting you to people already. And actually by the time you've been connected to them, they've already said hello and you just have to start talking. And like that process, I talk to so many more people. I'm so much less anxious about it. And like that link to volunteer with Mary is always in our link tree, which we put in our bio and on all social media and this podcast. But okay, so I was calling with Mary. I said, hi, is this so-and-so? And they said, I think they said yes. And I said, hi, my name's Katie. I'm a volunteer with Planned Parenthood Votes here in Maine. I'm wondering if you're planning to support Sarah Gideon for Senate this year. And he was like, oh, this isn't Eric. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I must have the wrong number. Are you a voter in Maine? And he was like, oh, no. And I was like, okay, where do you live? And he was like, I live in Pennsylvania. And I was like, oh, great. Like, Pennsylvania is a swing state. Like, are you planning to vote in Pennsylvania? And he was like, oh, we love to swing here in Pennsylvania. And I started laughing so hard. And he did too. And he was just like, you enjoy your next call now, okay? And I was like, yeah, yep. So, I don't know. Phone bank. You might run into somebody who, like, makes your day. I wish he had said, like, but for real, I am going to vote for Sarah Gideon, but he didn't. And then, oh my God, I wasn't even going to tell you this. Another call, I spoke entirely French. Somebody answered. So I took French in high school and a little bit in college. I'm not very good at it. Somebody answered and only spoke French. And I did my very best to convey, like, I don't know the word for ballot. I don't know the word for vote. But I basically just said, like, so... And that was the call immediately after the swinger guy. So I thought they were fucking with me. So I was like, je parle français aussi. Okay. Like, I was like, bitch, I also speak French. Thanks. Like, we can do this all day. And then I realized that, like, he was being sincere. And I was like,
I would die.
Basically, I was just like, I don't know the word for vote, but I was like, je t'aime, Sarah Gideon, je n'aime pas, Susan Collins. I did the best I could. I'm not gonna promise that I convinced either of those people to vote, but they were really funny to talk to, and I definitely convinced some people to vote in between, you know, some of those calls in that shift for sure. So I just thought you'd enjoy that story.
I love that story. Honestly, like, this year I've been so disappointed in myself for not learning Spanish the way I told myself that I would literally 10 years ago. And because I was like, it's so important that we are contacting voters in non-English speaking communities. And this is a language I should be able to speak. And I am awful at it. Terrible. My Spanish is so bad. So good on you. And now I am inspired to get back on my Duolingo or whatever, and learn how to actually speak some Spanish. I can read it, cannot speak it.
Yeah. That was a bummer too. I could understand what he was saying to me, but then it's just like, I only have like 100 words.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yep. By 2024, I hope to be fluent enough in Spanish to actually be able to do some phone banking for the Latinx community in, at least awesome. In my state, like at least in Iowa. So,
and I will learn some better words in French so that I can communicate with the 2 people in this country who speak French. I'm not even sure why it's offered as an option. Everybody should just learn Spanish, and I feel dumb, but I got to use it. This is the only time in my adult life ever, I think.
Okay, but someday we could travel, and French is a great language to know for lots of traveling.
I forgot about travel.
Yeah, travel will still exist again someday. And yeah, like, your average French and my average Spanish,
we can get around.
We can at least look like Americans who have tried.
Yeah. Woke-ish Americans.
Yeah, like, at least we'll have tried.
Yeah.
Which is usually appreciated.
For sure. So what other activism have you been up to?
Yeah. So I will be phone banking with Battleground Iowa on Tuesday and Wednesday, working real hard to get Teresa Greenfield elected.
Mm-hmm.
I was not selected to work at the polls, at least not as far as I know right now. At some point, maybe they'll change their mind. Probably it's because I wasn't available during like regular, like 8 to 5 kind of work hours. And I was like, I'm sorry. And they're like, well, we'll pay you. And I'm like, but I also can't just take time from my job because it's busy time right now. There's just a lot. So that was kind of a bummer. But yeah, they could still change their minds. But I'm really trying hard to get to DC to attend a rally for SCOTUS or
That's
for
so
like
cool.
not appointing Amy Barrett for Supreme Court. But again, with like my whole, I have to actually be here to do my job because I already took a couple days off to go hiking. I don't know, but I've never been to a rally in DC.
Yeah.
And I think that sounds super powerful.
For
and
sure.
What better time than right now when everyone's angry?
Yep. And there's a transnational crime syndicate masquerading as a government.
Exactly. So that would be really great. It's probably not going to happen, but I'm trying.
That's cool.
And then I'm also just learning a lot about abortion right now, which is a lot of feelings, but I just, because of the threat of the appointee to the Supreme Court, who is, vehemently opposed to healthcare for women, for members of the LGBTQ plus community, for people with pre-existing conditions, etc., etc. I'm just trying to learn as much as I can right now, and I feel like I've got a pretty good health policy type of thing, down pat, but not necessarily as much about abortion. So, yeah, that'll also brighten everyone's day, I'm sure.
I mean, look, a fetus is a cluster of cells, and I'm a fully formed human woman, and I get to decide what I do with the rest of my life, not a tiny clump of cells. And that's the end of that. What else? I might have mentioned this in the interview with Deva. So I have an IUD. I've had one since 2017, I think, or whatever years. Mine lasts for 6 years. It's been about 5.5. It expires in April. The Supreme Court is set to hear a challenge to the Affordable Care Act on November 10th, which is in less than a month. IUDs are about $1,000 out of pocket, I think, maybe more, probably more. That was just the bill that I got from the last one. I don't know. So, but anyway, the Affordable Care Act covers preventative birth control, or covers birth control, because women should have charge of their own bodies and their family planning and what they do. So that was absolutely a step in the right direction. If it gets repealed, I don't want to stand the chance of I don't have confidence that that's not going to happen. So I'm doing my best to get a new IUD before November 10th for sure. And I have other friends who are doing the same. And I went to my doctor to get my blood drawn for my 1-year kidney thing today, and got my flu shot today. Get your flu shots.
Yes.
Yes, that was it. I think that was the thing I wanted to remember. But I asked her if I was overreacting, and she was like, no, get a fresh IUD. So doctors are, that is my doctor's recommendation. So it's sad. It's sad and it's scary, and I'm fucking pissed. But I'm pissed enough to do shit. So I hope you guys are too, and you will get involved with shit, especially phone banking. Please phone bank. I will put a link to that in the chat. And again, I'm going to try and give out some plants to people who phone bank with me in Chicago. So if you live in Chicago and you're trying to get some plants, I think I've got 10 that already got some roots going. So
yeah, or if you live in Iowa, it gives me an excuse to drive to Chicago and visit Katie to go pick up your plants.
Exactly. We'll make it happen.
I can't make you plants, so I have to go pick them up from Katie because I'll kill them. Or Peaches will kill them. Peaches kills all of my plants. She eats them.
You have no choice.
She's a demon. I love her.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or should we just get into this interview?
I think we should just get into the interview. I think it's a good one.
All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoy, and we will talk to you next week. Okay. Hi, David. It's so good to see you. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I've had a good day. I went for a walk. It's nice and crisp outside. I'm feeling good. Okay. So the question that I start all of my interviews with is, do you remember how we first met?
I think so.
Okay.
Do you want me to answer?
I do. I'm curious what your first recollection is.
I feel like the first time we met, you approached me at my desk at work and introduced yourself.
Yep.
And you had talked to Nicole, I think, a mutual coworker, and you kind of told me a little bit about Imgur and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and we just talked a little bit about I don't know, some random stuff, I think. But what I read. It was.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I came to your desk. So yeah, okay. So I first heard, we worked together, but never interacted. Like there were,
Right.
I don't remember how many people worked there, but like enough that we were in different departments. We never really talked to each other, or like had never talked to each other. And
Right.
ran into a mutual coworker who asked me if maybe we could do some sort of like awareness project, because I worked in health promotion. So some sort of like project about raising awareness about kidney disease or end stage renal failure or something. And like just talk about how your husband needed a kidney. And I was like, I really don't know if we could do that, but like, let me look into that. So I sat and Googled at my computer for a long time. Don't tell anybody. And I was like, oh, this is like living kidney donation is not that big of a deal. Okay, that's like a little bit of a oversimplification, but like for the benefit, the cost is almost nothing. Like that is my assessment almost a year later. So I came up to you, had never met you before, and I was like, hey, what's your husband's name? I'm filling out the form to see if I can be his kidney donor, and I don't know how to spell it. It's like, now looking back, it's like, wow, Katie, like you couldn't have started out like a little more chill. Like, no, just going straight into the like, spell your husband's last name. I'm trying to give a kidney to him.
Right.
But it worked out. So yes, that's right. That was like the first time. That was the first time that we met. And then we like became friends as I would like go through the testing to see, because it takes a long time to go through the testing to become a living kidney donor. But
so long.
Yes, so long. And it's so slow. It's like you're waiting the entire time for the dumbest stuff. But can you tell us a little bit about like you and Dotan? Did you just celebrated your 10-year wedding anniversary? Is that right?
Yes.
Aww.
Yeah, we have been married for 10 years. Feels like a lifetime, but a good lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been together actually, I think closer to like 15. So yeah, we got married. Everything was normal-ish. Mm-hmm. He's always like had some health issues, and yeah. And then like 3 years ago, well, I guess 4 years ago now, he got diagnosed with end-stage renal failure. So that's can you like talk more about that, and like, is that genetic? Like what led to that? Like how did he get there? So what led him to end-stage renal failure was untreated high blood pressure. So there's typically 2 ways you can get kidney failure. Well, there's more, but the most common-ish are diabetes, people that are type 1 diabetic, or people that have untreated high blood pressure, which is usually genetic. So his parents, both of them had high blood pressure issues, and multiple people in his family had multiple health issues. He also had a brother who had kidney disease, but his was polycystic, so that's more of like a genetic type of thing. So that's like something that he was probably born with, and it developed as he got older. But so, yeah, he, I guess just never really took it very serious, the blood pressure issues. And I don't think they really talk about it that much in any type of, like, you know, when you're learning about diseases or things in school, or, I didn't even really know much about it, that not taking your blood pressure medicine can lead to kidney failure, and especially for African Americans. Obviously, they have a higher.
That's exactly what I was hoping you would bring up. Like, this is obviously an audio medium. Like, you can't. Well, David is white and Dotan is black, and yes, there is a higher risk among African Americans for everything because of racism, because of systemic racism. Let's be clear. But yeah, they're not really clear about it. Yes. So everybody please take that seriously. Okay, so he ended up on peritoneal dialysis, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to talk about what that's like?
Yeah. So peritoneal dialysis is done through a catheter in your stomach. You have a peritoneal lining that covers all your organs, and you do the dialysis. You can do it manually or on a machine, and he did his on a machine every night while he was sleeping. It started out about 8 hours, mm-hmm. and when he was at the end of doing it, he was up to 12 hours. Yeah. So it increased over time. But it was a sugar-based solution that went into his body, and it cleaned his blood.
But like really poorly. Like dialysis does a really bad job compared to your actual kidneys.
Yeah, so it does about 15% of what one kidney would do.
Right.
And both of his kidneys were in failure.
Yeah.
So he was getting 15%, which is enough to keep you alive short-term-ish.
Right.
I mean, they say 10 to 15 years is like that. I mean, I think that would be probably pushing it.
Yeah.
Just because you develop more and more health problems as time goes on, typically.
Yeah. Yeah. For anybody in the medical field, his creatinine was like 18.7 or something like that. Like the day of our surgery, it was and I think a normal creatinine level is down like by like 0.9 to like 1.1 or something like that. It was really high. So what's it like having a partner who's confined to like one room for 12 hours a day?
It's lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I did a lot of things alone. We had to, adjust our lifestyle. Mm-hmm. We couldn't really go places, and if we did, we had to take it all with. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of equipment. And still, even if we went to a hotel, we still had to be back by, we had to plan out 12 hours. So you got to think like, okay, I got to be hooked up by 9 o'clock, and then we'll be done tomorrow, maybe at 9 o'clock. Like mm-hmm. It may or may not take more than 12 hours. So it was just very, that was for me. For him, it was extremely claustrophobic. Mm. He almost like kind of has developed PTSD from being in our bedroom.
Wow.
So now he lays on the couch every night for like as long as he can, and usually until he falls asleep, and then he comes to bed.
Oh my gosh, that's actually kind of cute. Like, just that he was like, I can be on the couch now. I'm gonna be on the couch.
He's like, I can like get up and go wherever I want in the middle of the night. Like I can go downstairs to the fridge, or I can walk outside.
Yeah, sorry. That's probably my kidneys influence is the fridge thing. That's probably my fault.
He was always kind of a late night snacker, but
I didn't help.
Yeah. No. So so he's enjoying being able to roam around until all hours of the night. So nice. And I don't blame him because I can't imagine what it would feel like.
So before we went through the surgery and stuff like that, he was on the deceased donor registry, right? Just kind of like waiting for a kidney. Do you know how long he was from getting one?
The UNOS list, it was 5 to 7 years when we started. And then I think it went up 6 to 8 because of his blood type.
Oh.
So in the area that we are in. Mm-hmm. Now, if we would have gone to, a hospital up in Chicago and registered up there, or St. Louis, it potentially would have been a lower year amount. But then we would have had to do all of his everything at that hospital. And just with our situation and our kids and stuff like that, it just didn't feel like it was, I don't want to say it didn't feel like it was not worth it, because we would have done it. Yeah. But ideally it was like we kind of had an idea that you might be a match. So we were not going forward with any other hospitals. Now, let's say that we wouldn't have known anything about you. We definitely probably would have explored some other hospitals that had a shorter wait list. So his brother got a kidney transplant and he waited a full 8 years for it. So, yeah.
I didn't know that you would have like started looking at other hospitals.
Yeah.
And the year before, there was like a potential live donor that fell through, right?
Yeah, we had a friend that got tested, was the same blood type, but he didn't pass like the initial testing.
Oh, right. So yeah, that's a good point. So there's a lot of tests, a lot of tests. You have to be in really, really good shape to donate a kidney because they want to make sure that your health outcomes are good for the rest of your life and that you only need one kidney's function. And you only need like 30% or something. Man, I used to know all these stats right off the top of my head. Like I haven't really thought about this in a lot, but I was a college athlete and I have been riding that health kick or health, whatever, positive health influence ever since. So yeah, the very first thing you do is you fill out a long like form. You have to get your own blood pressure taken like 4 different times. If it's over 120/80, I think even one of those times they're like, too bad, can't do it, which is crazy to me. But then there's a lot of other stuff, a ton of family history. If there's any like family history of kidney disease or anything like that, they don't let you do it, which is good. Like obviously, like
right.
Giving a kidney to one person who's having kidney problems and creating kidney problems for another person is not a solution. But my life is exactly the same as it was a year ago, except I have 3 very teeny tiny scars on my stomach, and then I have like a C-section scar, basically. So I just can't emphasize enough how much I recommend this if it is an option for you, because it literally changes other people's lives. Okay, this is a joke. Okay, not a joke, kind of a joke, but like a real policy proposal that I have. So I've been thinking a lot about, like race in America, of course, as everybody should be right now. And I feel like reparations are owed. And I think that donating a kidney to a Black person in end-stage renal failure should be an option for reparations. I think it's like a pretty good like policy solution. Like white people should have to sacrifice because they benefit from systemic racism all the time. And one thing that they could do is donate their kidney to somebody who's in end-stage renal failure. Like I feel strongly about this. This is when I run for office, this is what I'm going to run on. White people, please donate your kidneys to Black people who need it. Because
and that is something too, I think that a lot of people, because when we were talking about it, I had a friend who was a nurse and she was like, well, I had talked to someone else and and I'm not for sure if a white person could donate to a Black person.
That's not true.
Not true. Like
you have to have the same blood type.
Right.
And obviously, not even the same like Rh factor. Like he's O positive and I'm O negative, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
now sometimes they do say that African Americans can have more antibodies in their blood based on genetics. Mm-hmm. So that could potentially affect the matching of the blood when they match it.
There are people match more often than I realized. Like I thought there would be a low chance of me and Dotan being a match, but we were a match. And like there's like 6 different, I forget, some doctor's going to listen to this and be like furious the entire time, but there's like 6 like proteins or whatever that like could match, and it's like better if they do match, but they don't have to match. And I don't even know if they told us if ours did match. They just were like, yep, we slushed. And this is true. This sounds silly, but like they put your blood together and then they just slush it around a little bit. One of the tests is that. Like one of yep. One of like they take like 14 vials of blood. They make you pee. They make you keep 24 hours of your pee in your fridge. That was my least favorite test, is you have to collect your pee for 24 hours, pour it into a thing, and then keep it in your fridge. I'll post pictures on Instagram. Don't worry. But yeah, one of them is just like you put your blood together and they go like swish, swish, swish. And then it's like, okay, everything's great. It's like, okay, science, I believe you. But
right.
But yeah, so they do a lot of tests and it was a match, that which was obviously very cool. So okay, so we started to become friends. Okay, that was a rough transition. What? Oh, sorry. I'm like was looking at my document and it's like, okay, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about with?
Well, Dotan ended up, the process was delayed, because I can't remember.
I think his heart or something.
Yes. Yeah. So we started seeing a specialist for his, congestive heart failure.
Because kidneys affect everything.
Yes. Mainly the heart. They're there's like a major artery that runs straight from your heart to your kidneys. So, but yeah, so that took a little bit longer. So maybe things could have potentially,
been more like,
but I feel
months.
Like, yeah,
maybe.
But I feel like things kind of like came together.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know, this might sound selfish. I had 2 weddings to go to in September. So I want, like, your living donor does have their own life. But yeah, so there were 2 weddings that I wanted to go to in September. So I knew I didn't want to do it before then. So it was kind of, and we did it on October 28th. So yeah, actually things worked out like kind of perfectly. I was in Peoria for Halloween.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it took, I think like 8 to 10-ish. I started the process in February and then we did the surgery in October. But yeah, I thought about it really hard for a while and I was like, nope, yep, this is worth it. And like went through with it. And then finally when everything got approved, because there's so many times when things could go wrong. Like there's so many things that could, well, even like I have depression and they had to, they wanted like the last however many sessions of notes with my therapist, like to make, they're thorough as fuck. And like they needed like a signed note from my therapist that said like she's in a good state to do this. Like,
right. Like afterwards, things won't go south with her.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And yeah, that's another thing. They do like they tell you to like mentally prepare yourself for them to reject it too. And so you want to talk about what like surgery day was like?
Sure.
We had to get to the hospital at like 4:30 in the morning, I think. You and Dotan beat me there.
Just barely, by like minutes.
Yeah. It took like on both of our parts, like your sister helped a ton. Like there were so many people involved in just like getting that to work. But like my stepdad drove me down and stayed with me for 2 days. Then my dad came down and he's the one who actually like discharged me, took me out of the hospital. And then like Clark came down and he stayed with me and like, helped me like shower for the first time when I was like, oh my God. But yeah, it took like a lot of coordination, but,
yeah,
I remember, do you remember the last question that I asked Dotan, like before they wheeled me out of the like room that we actually got to like get ready together in?
Yeah. You just asked him if he was going to vote for Trump.
And he said no. I gave him my kidney.
Right.
But if he said yes, I was maybe not going to. But I was pretty sure he was going to say no.
Yeah, he would never.
Great. So. Okay. I don't know what I would do if I gave my kidney to somebody and then I found out that they were. It's a nightmare and I don't want to think about it. I'm not going to think about it anymore.
Well, he'll never vote for Trump,
Perfect.
So I can solemnly swear.
I'm so glad.
So.
I remember like not being afraid because the anesthesiologist was so soothing. He was just like the most soothing presence that I'd ever seen. They wheeled me into, so my surgery started before Dotan's just because they had to go get it. And then he was in like the room next to me. So this surgery started at 8 a.m. I don't remember anything until 4 p.m. and I was out of surgery at like noon. So don't know. 4 hours gone forever. I love morphine. morphine is great. They give you a morphine pump that you can press, I think, every 45 minutes or something like that. It turns green when you compress it. I put it on my chest so that when I woke up, it was the first thing I could see. If it was green or red. If it was green, we're pressing it. So yeah, those first couple of days were like really, really hard. But I don't know if I told you this. When they wheeled me in, there were like the assistants around the operating table. The operating table is very small. And they were like, they asked me to get on the operating table. And I think I was already under like some drugs, like not all of them, but some of them.
I think they give you something just to like relax a little bit.
Yeah. And I had like my hospital gown on, and and I remember also that the assistants were just like beautiful women. Like they were just like gorgeous. And the surgeon was like, okay, like go ahead and get on the table. And I just looked at him and I was like, naked? And he was like, no. Like just get on the table. It's like, oh, okay, sorry. That's the last thing I said to the surgeon before.
Like that, it's surgery. Not nip tuck.
Yeah, no, you don't have to be naked. Like, we'll do that later. Don't worry about it.
Right, we'll take that all off when you're under.
Yeah, like we've seen all of this before, you weirdo. But yeah, right. So there is that, and then I don't know. They made me walk the very first night just to make sure that there's no like blood clots in your legs, and I like. This is the part that when I downplay, like when I'm like, oh yeah, donating your kidney is no big deal. Recovery was really hard, like. And I now have like a newfound respect for women who give birth via cesarean section because, oh my God, it hurts so much. So I would say I was in like an immense amount of pain for about 5 days. And then after that, it got like very manageable. Like it still hurt, but I was like, oh, this will be fine. This is only going to get better. It'll be fine from here out. So like for real, if you can find 5 days to like feel like shit, you could give another human like an extra 20 years of life. So I was doing well. Like when the surgery was over, like I never really had any complications. Things kind of just like steadily improved. But I think Doton actually like at first was having a really hard time, right? Do you remember that? For like the first like day and a half, wasn't he like really out of it?
Yeah, I mean, he was just on a lot of pain meds.
Yeah.
Like fentanyl. So
intense stuff.
Yeah. And then he was just in a lot of pain, obviously, because they cut him open.
Right.
And they, just something for all the listeners, they put the kidney in the front and not in the back where your typical kidneys are. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so he's got a cut that's probably like 5 or 6 inches on his side. But yeah, he was just in a lot of pain. I was just like kind of out of it. So, but he was doing really well. Like they ended up releasing him a day early from the hospital. So once he, and the labs were all looking really good. And so, but yeah, it was just like coming off the pain meds was pretty hard for him. And he doesn't typically do well.
I see. With
pain meds anyways. So, but that was really the only issue.
Good.
And lots of peeing. He hadn't peed in like,
oh my God, that's right.
Years.
Yeah. I obviously didn't think about that. Don't spend a lot of time thinking about how much your husband pees. But I do remember like afterwards, him or you saying, I think it was you. I think you said that he like peed for the first time in like 3.5 years or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, that's crazy. On the flip side, I really enjoyed having a catheter and not having to get up to go to the bathroom. Like
I want that. Right? Like I also like that when I've had procedures.
It's
I'm like,
so nice.
I love catheters. Yeah. Like I hate peeing.
Right. That's several times a day. I'm saving so much time.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. So the surgery was on Monday morning. I got discharged on Wednesday. He got discharged on Thursday, which was a day early. Usually they get discharged on Friday. So like by then we were like, oh, he's doing good. Like everything is cool. But yeah, I had like mentally prepared myself, like just in case that it's like, nope, like he might reject it. This doesn't work sometimes. Although to be clear, with living donors, it works like 99% of the time. Not an exaggeration. And I mean, it works a lot with deceased donors, but it works almost every time with living donors. Like the surgeon so Doten and I had different surgeons. They actually let me pick. They had two at the hospital, and one is a little bit older, so he didn't have experience with like laparoscopic surgery. And they were like, you can choose which one you want, but like if you choose so-and-so, I think it was Dr. Johnson, you'll have like a 6 or 8 inch scar down the middle of your stomach. And if you choose Dr. Gupta, you'll have like nothing. Okay. So then on Wednesday, they kick you out like midday. And I was a little bit like, am I really leaving? Like 36 hours ago, I had 2 kidneys and now I only have 1 kidney. Like, you want me to leave? And I was kind of scared. At the Airbnb, like being at the hospital sucks. And at the Airbnb, we could sleep. They wouldn't let me go home to Chicago because it was too long of a drive. So we got an Airbnb. Actually, one nice thing about it, one creepy thing about it. Did I tell you it was like infested with ladybugs the night before the surgery?
No.
So like in the kitchen, there were like 50 ladybugs on the ceiling. And I don't like to kill bugs. So, but I was like, I'm not catching 50 ladybugs. Like, I'm not doing catch and release for 50 bugs tonight. Like, I have to wake up at 4 a.m. Like, this is not happening. But I also was like, I have to come back here in 2 days with like, after major surgery, like, I don't want there to be ladybugs. So I murdered like an army of ladybugs and was worried. I was like, I really hope karma doesn't like come for me in the morning. Like you just took 50 lives. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Not the lady. I understand. But so that was the thing I did not like. But it also had like right above the doorway when you were leaving, it had a little sign that said "Be amazing today." And I was like, "Oh, what are the chances like
Cool.
I'm about to. Like this is like the one day I'm about to do that."
Right?
What are the chances?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Do you remember the crazy guy at the hospital that was in the room across from me?
Yes.
I just looked for it. I have some audio of it, so I'm going to play it for the listeners. He was, I feel kind of, he was
remember
obviously
laughing so hard when I came to visit you one of the times, and I mean, for multiple times I came to visit you, he was making noise.
He was obviously distressed. I think he didn't understand that he was at a hospital, which was sad, but I have it. Yeah. You can hear some audio of that. I'll also play you the audio. They put like these cuffs on your legs so that they don't, I don't know, blood clots, whatever. And they took my catheter out. I didn't like it, but they did. So I had to get up and go to the bathroom myself, which is stupid. The nurses didn't come fast enough and I had to pee so bad. So I took them off myself and it was like 4 a.m. and I set off like the loudest. I'll play it for just a second, but you guys can understand that I made the entire renal floor hear this noise because I had to pee at 4 a.m. because I took my cuffs off my legs. It was horrible. But I didn't pee the bed. I did make it to the toilet.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't pee the bed.
Yeah. And I think my other actual favorite memory is just like eating great popsicles with you, because they don't tell you, but you can't eat anything for like 2 days after your surgery, which is so mean.
Well, you can't eat until you pass gas.
That they should make that clear, because you don't get to eat for a long time beforehand either. So you're hungry as fuck. And then they don't let you eat afterwards for a little while. And like that, literally after, like I had on I think Friday. Yeah. So Monday, donated kidney. Friday came back, like walked into the hospital myself to to do my blood work to make sure that I was healthy enough to go home to Chicago, and then met with the surgeon and whatever. And the like donor coordinator and whatever. And they were like, what is, like, did it meet expectations? And I was like, yeah, everything except you should tell people that they can't eat for so long, like right afterwards, because like,
like I was starving.
And food's the only thing that I care about right now. So, well, I think the like most fun thing I think is that, one of the like, I don't know, fun things that I got to learn while we were like becoming friends as I was going through the process of testing was like you and Dotan have 2 kids, but I knew that you told me that you probably would have wanted to have another one, but that like Dotan's health was so bad that you didn't know if you like really ever would. And I remember asking you in the hospital, and I was like, do you think you guys will have kids? And I think you like shook your head like, no. Do you want to share like a life update with our listeners?
Yeah, so me and Dotan, when we got married, we had always talked about wanting to have at least 3 kids. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know why. Well, I did. I don't know if he necessarily did. Mm-hmm. But then as life went on and he got sick, we were like, 2 is good. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I can't have a baby while he's on dialysis because that would be horrible. Like, I would be up all night with the baby by myself and he can't leave our room.
Yeah. Well, and like, was he even really healthy enough to, like, like there's...
I don't know. Yeah. Because towards the end, things like just weren't working like normal-ish.
Everything, just like more than you can imagine.
Right. So a lot of men obviously get erectile dysfunction because your kidneys don't work. They shut down lots of things. So, so we just had kind of decided, we were like, we're just going to be done. Mm-hmm. I was never on birth control. I had just been doing like natural family planning and we've never had any accidents or anything. My period's regular. Mm-hmm. I'm not like, I don't have PCOS or any women issues. And so obviously, having relations after a kidney transplant doesn't happen for a while, but
I have a story about that. Whenever I forget, I think at 3 weeks I had to go back and just make sure everything was going okay, like inspect my stitches and stuff and whatever. So Clark took me, and I remember like the doctor being like, okay, you guys can start having sex again. Oh man, Clark's mom listens to this. Oh well, sorry, Laura. They're like, you guys can start having sex again, but like you have to be on top. Like you can only be on top. And like Clark and I kind of just like side-eyed each other. It's like we'd already had sex. It's like, oops, nobody told me not to do that. So I don't know.
Right.
Everything worked out.
Right. It's not like your surgery affected your vagina.
Yeah, so. It was fine. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. And so, yeah. I mean, we just kind of went on with life as normal once he got his transplant, and I kept tracking my periods, and we were obviously then COVID hit in like February, and they stopped all elective procedures at mm-hmm. hospitals. And so a year ago, I had talked to my gyno about getting my tubes tied, and she like didn't really take me seriously. And I was like, no, like I want to get my tubes tied. Like I'm done having kids. My husband is getting a kidney transplant. Like I don't want kids. Like we don't want to have any accidents, or any more kids. Like we're done. We decided we're done. 2 is good. So we had tried to go to the urologist office, but because Dotan's main insurance was Medicare, and not Medicaid, they would not cover a vasectomy.
Wow.
Because it's not, I don't know, Medicare doesn't cover that for, they wouldn't cover it. So we were like, the doctor wouldn't even meet with us that day. And he did not have any secondary insurance at that point. He got a different job. He ended up getting secondary insurance. And so once he got that insurance and then COVID and all that stuff, so finally on May 18th, he called the urologist office. And funny, the urologist office, the doctor, his name is Dr. Lee.
I used to coach his daughters. He has 3 daughters, and I used to coach him. They're excellent swimmers and excellent humans. But yes, his name is Dr. Leak, and he's a urologist, and it's perfect.
Yep. And I actually was their nanny.
Oh my God, what?
Yes.
Oh my God. That's adorable.
I started with Kate when she was like 3, and I nannied through Caroline and Evie. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I nannied for all three of them.
That's cute.
And now they go to school with my nieces and nephews at their school they go to. So it's pretty cool.
That's crazy.
Small world.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he called, and the nurse was like, "Oh, we're not doing elective procedures." And the month before, my period cycle had been thrown off.
Mm-hmm.
It was just longer than usual. And so on May 18th, when he called, my cycle was as long as it was the month before. It was like 31 days. And I was like, that's weird. I haven't got my period. And so I took a test on May 19th and found out I was pregnant.
Oh my God.
So we were just in shock, obviously. I mean, it's like, well, duh, we know how it happens.
Yeah.
So, and then I went and got labs done, and fast forward 2 weeks. I went in for my first appointment at 7 weeks, 6 weeks. 6 weeks, I think I was.
Mm-hmm.
And they informed me that I was pregnant with triplets.
Yep. I think that's when I found out. So
yes.
You sent me a picture of the ultrasound, and I was like, I was so happy. Like, selfishly, I was like, I hope they get to have another baby that they want. Like, in my head, they want one more baby. They should get to have one more baby. Like, I hope that they get to now. So when you sent me that, I was like, yes, amazing. Everything I had hoped for, the best. And
and I think the text message said, "Damn you, Katie, your kidney worked too well."
Yeah. And then you were like, look again. And you were like, yeah.
Yeah, because you were just like, "Oh, congrats."
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, look at the ultrasound."
No.
There's three.
Yeah. And then you tried to blame it on my kidney, which is not fair.
It's totally fair.
Doesn't have anything to do with that. Me?
Yes.
Seems like, but yeah, and they're identical, right? Which happens to nobody. So you're having identical
one in
triplet
a million.
boys.
Yes.
Amazing.
It is. Yeah, it is crazy. It's a miracle. So.
Your life is full of improbable things.
Yeah. I mean, from day one, really, me and Dotan have never really had regular, like nothing's really ever been regular in our relationship. So, but I feel like, when things kind of go down or when they get bad, usually there's like an upswing and something really positive comes out of it. And we've really been blessed with the things that we've been given. And we don't really, a lot of people are like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, we're going to have 3 kids. We're going to have 5 kids, but we're going to have 3 babies. And
yeah. Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
Tell me, okay, so you were telling me before we started recording that like just shit I would never have thought of, but that you have to get like bracelets. So to like tell your children apart because like they're going to be identical. Like that's so yeah, that's a thing. When you have triplets, you have to like get special bracelets from Etsy so that you can tell your babies apart.
Right. Well, some people, they even have like baby, like hypoallergenic fingernail polish. So like, it's called piggy polish. And but that, we're having boys and I don't really want to paint their toenails. That's fine. Yeah. But it's going to be winter.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be cold, and to take off their like sleepers, like I just don't want to be like, oh, I got to unzip this sleeper so that I can look at his toes. So I'm like, that's just not the best, method for us in the middle of December.
Right.
So, I was like, there's got to be something. We've seen bracelets too, but that like makes me nervous because a lot of them are beads, and I don't know. That just makes me nervous with beads and little babies that like try to like put. When they're that little, they obviously won't put things in their mouth, but I don't want it to break. And,
yeah.
I don't want them to like choke on a bead. So yeah, we found these like cool bracelets, but for a pack of, I think it was like, I don't know, it was like a small amount. It's like $9. We have to order 3 packs. So I was like even talking to a friend, and we were talking, I was like, how many pacifiers do you think I should buy?
Oh my God.
She has a 6-month-old, and she's like, well, she uses 9. Like, we have 9 pacifiers for her. And I'm like,
great.
That's like 36, right? 9 times 3 is 36. Yeah.
That's too many.
Like, and then what about bottles?
Right.
Like, they eat every 2 hours. There's 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
If they eat every 2 hours in a 24-hour period, that's 12 feedings.
Just turn your kitchen into a dishwasher.
I don't even know. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. So,
but you'll do it.
Yeah, I have no idea. And everyone's like, have you researched and done this? And I'm just like, no, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. Like, it's my 3rd through 5th kid. So
yeah, we've been doing this for thousands of years. We'll figure it out.
Right. Yeah. I will survive. And they'll survive. So
yes, they will.
As long as they're not born in like the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so I don't know. Until now, everything seems like healthy and stuff. In 10 weeks, you'll have 3 new baby boys.
Yeah. So I'm 24 and a half weeks, and typically around 25 weeks, they say like that the babies have viability. Mm-hmm. So obviously they would have probably a lot of health issues if they were born right now. But the doctor tells me my cervix looks amazing, which is not something you hear every day.
Always thought that about you. I've always said that.
Couldn't you tell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very clear.
Yeah. So that's amazing.
Congrats on your cervix.
Yes. But I guess everything is kind of in my favor because we spontaneously conceived them. I just feel like my stomach's being stretched in half.
Yeah.
So
that's probably not going to stop anytime soon.
No. I know. I feel like my belly button is going to rip. Like I asked Jotan, I was like, do you think that my skin could rip? Like, do you think it could stretch so far it would like rip? I don't know. So,
probably not, but I'm so sorry that you are wondering that.
Right? I feel like that could be a possibility.
Yeah.
That's like, so, but, yep. Otherwise, we lead pretty boring lives now.
Especially, during COVID, everybody does.
Right.
Well, I know it's getting kind of late and I don't want to like keep you up too long. Is there anything else that you wanted to like make sure? I want to ask you, okay. Is there anything else that you want to share about like Dotan, living kidney donation, whatever, anything at all?
I would just, repeat the same thing you have. If you are healthy and you feel like you could help somebody, go out and get tested. Yeah. Or just ask around. There's probably people in your community that I just was randomly like looking through a Facebook group today, and there was a woman who is O positive and she needs kidney transplant. She's like 29 years old here in our community.
I follow #livingdonor on Instagram, and I have a really hard time every time somebody comes up not like reposting it to my story and being like, if you have type O blood and you have 2.5 weeks to recover from this surgery, like you could do this. But obviously,
and that's something that is really important that like we didn't really touch on, but O positive or negative is very rare. It's a universal blood type, and to donate blood, it's universal. So it's great if you want to donate blood. But when you need an organ with O negative or positive, you can only receive from someone with O negative or positive. Right. And if you have other blood types, you can receive from multiple donors.
Yeah.
So typically O blood type is a much longer wait than any other blood type to get not just kidneys, but any organ in general. So go out and sign up to be a donor of any sort.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's a good point. Be an organ donor. You don't need them when you're dead. But yeah, you can donate you can donate a whole kidney and you can donate part of your liver. And there's probably a transplant hospital near you. You can search for that. And then they just fill out an evaluation form. Like, there's no harm in going through the evaluation. If at any point, like, there's an indicator that you would have a poor health outcome, they won't let you do it. Like, that's what it comes down to. So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I can't recommend it enough. And like, for real, when I get sad, this is what I think about. And then it makes me not sad anymore. That's like an invaluable thing to have in your back pocket.
Right. Well, and like, I mean, a lot of people don't know their donor. It's anonymous a lot of times. So I think like what we have is just, something really unique, and it's super cool just because we, have a different situation, and you can kind of, see our lives.
I know, it's cool.
And I mean, the gift, literally, like, gift of life, I mean, it has given him his life back. And that's something that's really invaluable to our family. And, someday our kids will have that, I mean, they already have that story, but, someday they'll be able to be like, my dad got a kidney, and they'll be able to share that. And, I mean, we, obviously all of our friends and family know, but anytime that we get to share it, we definitely do, because it literally changed our lives. So we wouldn't be, I mean, I don't know how long Dotan would have lived, or, and he actually just went and got his labs done a couple weeks ago for his 1-year appointment, and his creatinine is lower than it has been post-transplant in the past year. Yeah.
I get mine drawn in the morning, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But they've been good ever so far. They're like, my creatinine is not quite back down to what it was when I had 2 kidneys, but over time, my kidney, like, currently is growing to take over for some of the capacity. So I will probably, it doesn't matter. I'll probably get back to about 70% kidney capacity. You only really need 30%. You can have like, if you have good kidneys, you can get back to 70% with only 1. So I have more than I'll have more than I need, and I only have 1. And you too, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not you, but you know what I mean.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Then my final question. Are you guys all set to vote? Do you need any help with like your ballot? Do you want, like, what's up? Are you in, I forget his name. The guy who looks like he just got Botox. Rodney Davis? That's not his name.
I don't know who that is, but we are registered to vote.
Are you going to vote in person or by mail?
I think we're probably just going to register or vote in person.
Okay. Oh, you can go early too. It's just down the street from the health department. I used to do that.
I'm not working though, so I'm at home.
Right. That makes sense.
I'm working from home.
Right.
So.
Okay, cool.
I'm only working everybody else is working at the office, but I'm working from home because my doctor said I have to.
Good.
So, yeah.
Well, if you need help with any of your ballot choices, I'm happy to help you out.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for talking to me tonight. It's been really fun to like catch up.
Yeah, I know. We should do it more often.
Yeah. And I still have Christmas presents for your children that they probably, by the time they get them, will be like Paw Patrol, like fucking Paw Patrol. Like,
Kellen still plays with Paw Patrol.
Okay, good.
So.
I should find a way to get those to you.
Yeah, you could just send it.
I should.
Too. They ask about it still.
Oh my God, really? That's so
in the morning, they'll probably be like, oh.
Where's our presents?
Did Katie ever send our presents, Mom?
And they call me Kidney Katie because you have another friend named Katie.
Yes, I know. They're always like, which Katie? Which Katie? I'm like, Kidney Katie. Right. I hope that doesn't offend you.
Oh, no, I think it's hilarious.
I'm like, we're still going to call you that, even behind your back.
I don't have a choice. All right. Well, thank you for talking to me about something that is fun and not terrible for once.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you guys so much for listening to For Your Misinformation. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you like it, give us a rating and a review. It helps us find more listeners, and the more of us there are, the better.
And make sure you're following along on Instagram and Twitter at FYMI Pod.
Shout out to Kyle Dibdahl for the intro and outro music, Hope Dye for the podcast art, and Ben Schlofelt for the audio production.
We come out with new episodes every Monday.
For Your Misinformation is part of the Demcast family of podcasts.